In the previous video, we discussed the situation of equilibrium, where demand is exactly equal to supply. But in economics, we also have two situations when demand does not equal to supply. And these two cases or concepts are known as a price floor or a price ceiling. The first case deals with a price floor. This is when government imposes a price control or limit on the price that is charged by a supplier of a good or service. These are usually done to protect people like, for example, a domestic worker or farmers. So how the situation of a disequilibrium occurs is, say, for example, a domestic worker is paid 100 Rand a day. Now government comes in and says, hold on, that's too little. You have to charge a higher price. So the minimum wage now increases to 200 Rand a day. So let's say, for example, we put our line in there and we now make the wage price 200 Rand. This causes disequilibrium in the market. Let's say we cut our first curve, which is the demand curve, which is somewhere there, and the second curve that we cut is our supply curve, which looks like that. Now, for example, just looking at the normal graph, we can see that our supply in numerics, for example, would be, let's say, 20, and our demand would be 10, causing supply to be greater than demand. In practical terms, when something costs more, we expect that the demand should decrease, and this is exactly what's happening. So in this triangle that we've got on the top here, we can call this something of excess supply, meaning that domestic workers are now willing to supply their services because they can earn a better income at 200 Rand per day. But now, because that price or the wage price has increased, people can't afford that increase in the wage price, therefore causing disequilibrium in the market where demand does not equal to supply. With regard to the price floor, another word for a price floor is called a minimum price. This means that you're not allowed to charge or to pay anything below the minimum price in this example, which is equal to 200 Rand. The second case deals with the price ceiling. This is also where government regulation imposes a price control or limit, but this time it's used to protect consumers from high prices. Sometimes suppliers want to charge a higher price on particular products like bread, milk, or maize because they know that consumers always purchase these products on a daily or weekly basis. But government comes in and places a price control or a price ceiling in order to protect consumers from being exploited by high prices. How this is shown is, for example, if we draw a price ceiling, it looks something like that at the bottom of equilibrium. For example, if a particular product is 20 Rand, but government imposes a price control on, let's say, bread to 15 Rand, this causes disequilibrium again in the market. So if we cut our first graph, we cut our supply curve. So supply would be there, and our second curve will cut our demand curve. So here we can see that demand will be greater than supply because the price has now dropped from 20 Rand to 15 Rand. The amount of supply of this particular product will also decrease because suppliers will realize that they cannot make as much profit as they used to make before the government intervention of a price ceiling. Therefore, we have a situation which forms here, and this is called excess demand. Because the price dropped from 20 Rand to 15 Rand, we have a situation whereby consumers will be willing to buy more of that product because the price has become cheaper. Another name for a price ceiling is known as a max price. And this is basically when the price is set below the equilibrium price, causing disequilibrium where demand does not equal to supply. So to summarize the price floor and the price ceiling, we both know that it's a government regulation that sets a price control or limit on the prices. In terms of the price floor, we have a situation which protects suppliers like your domestic workers and your farmers. It's also known as a minimum price, and the price is set above the equilibrium price as shown in this example below, where we have a situation called excess supply, where your supply is greater than your demand, because workers are willing to supply their services at a higher level of price or wages, but because consumers have to pay the higher price of the wages, they demand less. In the price ceiling example, government also steps in to control or set a price limit in order to protect consumers from being exploited by the high prices set by the suppliers of goods and services. This is, for example, bread, milk, or maize, and it's also known as a max price, where this price is set below the equilibrium price on the graph and is shown as this particular example here, where it creates an excess demand for that particular product because the price has decreased, causing your demand to be greater than your supply. And in these two cases, causing a situation whereby demand does not equal to supply.